Is it possible to cover the entire neck of the guitar in scalding hot licks while only thinking about two easy to visualize scale shapes? With the secrets you're about to learn in this video, yeah, you can. Hey there kids, it's good buddy Uncle Ben back again with like 70% less hair than last time. That's because I chopped it off and donated it to Wigs for Kids. So if you're ever out on the street somewhere and you see some kid with just a beautiful, radiant, gorgeous head of hair, tell him Uncle Ben says hi. Back in the days of my youth, whenever I'd see my favorite guitar players like Paul Gilbert, Steve Vai, and Joe Satriani play licks that spanned the entire length of the neck of the guitar, I could only imagine that they were visualizing like every scale pattern ever made and deftly moving in and out of them. And for all I know, maybe they are, but from my own personal experience, my homeschooled mind simply can't keep up with thinking about moving across the neck, moving in and out of giant vertical scale shapes. I like to keep things nice and simple and easy to visualize using any local root note that I can to root out a pattern that I've memorized. And the E minor based lick that I played at the first of this video is a perfect example of that. Even though it covered everything from the 3rd fret all the way up to fret number 24 here, I was only thinking about two easy to see patterns the entire time. And in today's video, I'm going to show you guys those two patterns and how you can incorporate them into your own playing to start covering the entire neck of your guitar fast. Before we get into it, let's hear it again at stepdad speed. As always, free tabs can be found over on my Instagram page at Ben Eller Guitars. Just look up hashtag Weekend Wankshop 262, find the tabs and start shredding along today. Downloadable tabs, backing tracks, bonus lessons, and so much more are available to everybody who supports my channel over on my Patreon page at patreon.com/Ben Eller Guitars. This week I'm going to upload a special Patreon-only video detailing how I use this scale visualization trick with all 7 of the major scale modes, so you don't want to miss that. That and tons of other great bonus lessons are available to everybody who signs up to my Patreon page, even at the $1 a month level. So be sure to click the link in the video description and check out that Patreon page today. Okay, a lot of the stuff in this video is going to be utilizing my 3+4 method of organizing scale shapes across the board. I think the first video I did introducing that idea was a couple months ago. I believe it's called my 3+4 scale shape secret or something like that. I'll put the episode name and number right here on the screen, right here. Be sure to check it out, it's going to help you with this stuff even more. So here's a quick crash course on that 3+4 scale pattern idea that we're going to be using for this lesson. So the cool thing is if you take the notes of a scale and arrange them so that there's 3 notes on one string, 1, 2, 3, and 4 notes on the next, 1, 2, 3, 4. Notice a little position shift I did right there with my 4th finger. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's nearly an entire octave of the scale, and that means you're ready to restart again from the root note. This new root note is very easy to see because it's going to be right here within reach, just the octave above the note that you started on. So you can basically go from this G note now and restart that same pattern. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Connects to the nearest G, which is right here, 8th fret B string, and I can use that same pattern again. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, boom. So it's just these very easy to see 2-string scale shapes that just kind of connect with each other all over the place across the board. And this lick that I made up here in the key of E minor utilizes 2 of them. One of them being the G major shape I just played a second ago, which is kind of like that wide stretch. Then another one, then jump up a whole step. And the other one is the yin to the major scale's yang. It's natural minor scale, the E minor scale. If that sounds like a bunch of gibberish to you and you don't know what it means, don't worry about it. Basically all that it is they're 2 sides of the same coin. The G scale is the notes G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. The E minor scale is the same notes in a different order. E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E. It's all still the same 7 ingredients, so we can interchangeably use those whenever we want to. So here's the 2 different shapes that we're going to be using to play across the entire neck here. All we got to do is sniff out the nearest local root note, whether it's the G for the G major shape, the E for the E minor shape, attach this 2-string scale pattern to it, and away we go. 3+4 scale pattern magic. Now the other half of this is going to be our E minor shape, which we're going to use starting off here from the 7th fret on the A string. There's an E. Again, you can use any E on the neck as a viable starting point for these patterns, and using them this way is great because it teaches you to find root notes on stuff other than the low E string. So many guitar players never advance past learning all their scales being rooted from the bottom string. So here's the E minor shape that we're going to use. We're going to start off on an E note, again in this case the 7th fret on the A string, and I'm going to use that kind of 1-3-4 pattern right here. So I'm playing fret 7, 9, and 10. Just like the major scale pattern, we're going to repeat the same thing on the next string, so also 7, 9, 10 on the D in this case. And again, just like your major scale shape, all you're going to do is after that last note, move up a whole step, and you've completed all 7 notes of that scale. E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D. You could take a second here and find all the various G's on the neck of your guitar and root out that G major scale pattern, like maybe if I started here from the 10th fret A. Again, that's a G note, so that's a viable starting place for this pattern. And use the major scale on one with the wide stretches like this. Maybe you start off here from the low E string fret number 12, that's an E note. Use your E minor scale pattern, the 1-3-4 one, it'd look like this. The only thing that throws a wrench in the works here is of course the G and B string. Anytime that we're going from the G to the B, we've always got to hike the B string up an additional half step due to the tuning that we use on the guitar. So like for example, if I was starting off that G pattern here from the 12th fret G string, it wouldn't be the stacked on top symmetrical pattern like what you've been using here and here. You'll notice it'll look like this, half step up. You know, that B string always throws everything off. Your E minor would look like this, up a half step, then the same, you know, regular whole step and everything after that. But just remember, anytime you're going to the B string, these patterns aren't going to stack, they're going to be shifted over. Back on the ranch here, when you're going from B to E string, no problem. It's always just G to B, that's the problem child. So now that you got the patterns down, here's the actual lick itself and how you should be visualizing this going across the fretboard of the guitar. I'm combining the power of these 3+4 scale patterns with my fondness of playing straight 6s across the strings. Last week on my channel I uploaded a video called 6-6-6s that outlines some of my favorite ways to phrase things in 6-note groupings. You could actually use a couple of those ideas in this lick too. But in this case, what we're going to be doing is playing each of these 3-note groups twice in a row, like this. So I'm starting off here with the G major type scale pattern. Again, harmony-wise, it's E minor because I'm playing all these over an E minor chord. But it's just kind of good to, you know, have that file away in your head as thinking, this is what the G major scale looks like. But again, harmonically, since it's being played over E minor, it all sounds like E minor. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to start off with that big wide stretch. Again, I'm rooting this off of the 3rd fret low E string, the G note that we're rooting out here, and just play 3-5-7 2 times in a row with alternate picking. 6 notes. Next, what you're going to do is jump down onto the A string, play the same thing. And remember how I said, you know, we kind of shift up off the little finger right there? That creates another 3-note pattern that we can use, which is the 5, 7, and 9 on the A string. And again, I just played up that 2 times. Essentially what you're doing when you move into this shape right here is you're just kind of using the back 2 notes of the initial pattern as the first 2 notes now, and using that little scooted up little finger to complete that figure and make a 3-note grouping. So we start off by playing those 6s up our G pattern. And this is great because it puts you really close to an E note that you can start the E minor pattern from. Okay, right now your first finger can get right up on that 7th fret A string. Again, there's a root note of E. We can root these patterns out from any string. You got to take advantage of that. It really frees up a lot of, you know, RAM space in your brain. So that way you're not trying to think of like what other big, huge scale pattern this fits into. Just play the ball where it lies, shop local, use the nearest root note to root these patterns out with. So if you put your first finger there on that 7th fret A string, again, this is a perfect place to put our E minor pattern that we learned earlier, right? And we're going to use that same 6s idea to play up that E minor pattern. Let's start off by playing the 7, 9, 10 on the A string twice in a row with alternate picking. Same thing on the D. And kind of like what I was saying a second ago about the G scale pattern, visualize these two notes as being the front end of the next pattern, you know? So you can see how I replace fingers 3 and 4 with fingers 1 and 2. That means my little finger is going to be able to get up here and grab that D note, which was our position shift note. So lastly, you round this out by playing 9, 10, 12 on the D string twice. So you have the G section first here from our root note on our 3rd fret low E. Then we use the nearest local E, our 7th fret A string, to use the E minor pattern. Now this puts us near another G note that we can find here on the 10th fret A string. So we're going to start off here and play that same first big major scale pattern. Again, 6s on every string. It's going to look like this. Start off by playing 10, 12, 14 on your A string twice. Same thing on the D. Then scoot up a whole step and play the 12, 14, 16. It's the same pattern that we played to start with. We're just using this G as our root note now. Now from this position, you're in a great spot to restart that E minor pattern. There's an E note right here on your 14th fret D string, right? So again, we can use that note right there to start off that E minor pattern that we learned earlier, this guy. And again, let's do that as 6s. You'll notice I'm using fingers 1, 2, and 3. After the 12th fret, anything goes. If you want to use your little finger and continue the 1, 3, 4 thing, that's fine. But you know, past about fret 13 or 14 is where my fingers get wider than the frets. You know, so I'll ditch the little finger sometimes when I play stuff up high like this, but your mileage may vary. So we're going to use the 14th fret D string E note as our starting point for our E minor scale. And we're going to play 14, 16, 17 on that string twice. Same thing on the G. Then we're going to have that position shift that goes on here, which makes us play 16, 17, 19 on the G. And wouldn't you know it, I'm right here near another E note. 17th fret on your B string is another root note E. And again, we can use that to restart this E minor pattern really easily. Again, that's no different than the other E minor patterns that you've been using. It's just starting off from this E note instead of this one or this one like we already have. So what we're going to do here is to play that 17, 19, and 20 on the B twice. Same thing on the high E. Position shift here, so we got 19, 20, and 22. And then if you want to, you can resolve by hitting that 24th fret high E string, if you got 24 frets. If not, you could always hit that 22nd fret on the high E string and do a big bitchin' whole step bend. And that would wrap that up really nicely too. And that is the entire lick. Again, we're covering multiple octaves, the entire neck of the guitar, and we're only thinking about 2 simple patterns. This guy for G, this guy for E minor. Really easy to visualize. And again, the great thing here is it's going to get you used to finding root notes on any string and having a scale pattern that you can think of and use just like that. So that way you can shred in any position, any key that you're in. Let's outline it again here. G starting from the 3rd fret low E. E minor starting from 7th A. G starting from 10th A. E minor starting from 14th D. E minor starting from 17th B. And resolve. So if that's how much damage you can do only knowing 2 different patterns, major and minor, just imagine how lethal your playing can get if you know all 7 modes organized across the board that way. If you sign up for the Patreon page today, you can go over there and find the bonus lesson that I'm uploading alongside this one, showing you guys the shapes that you can use for all 7 modes. That way you can just destroy the neck of the guitar without, overclocking your processor here. So be sure to click the Patreon link in the video description below and sign up today. Thanks a ton for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel for new content coming at you all the time, and ring the bell for notifications every time I upload a new slice of fried gold. Hopefully you guys had some fun with that one. Try to get it up to that speed that I did at the first of the video. That was sextuplets, meaning 6 notes per beat at 110 BPM. Take it nice and slow and visualize those shapes going across the board. Well guys, it's been fun as always, but I've got to hit the road. As for you guys, get away from the computer, pick up your guitar, and get to practicing. Let's click it, or pick it.